Welcome to the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. This show is brought to you by Oakley Trucking, headquartered in North Little Rock, Arkansas. The purpose of this podcast is to communicate with Oakley owner-operators and their families by giving them up-to-date information concerning Oakley Trucking and the trucking industry, from business advice to safety updates to success stories. Also to give an insight to outside truck drivers that might be interested in joining the Oakley family. Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking. I'm your host for this podcast, and this is episode number 24. On this week's episode, we're going to continue with the second half of our conversation we started last week with three of our owner-operators here at Oakley Trucking. We had Freddie Baker from the Pneumatic division, Robert Tennie from the End-Dump division, and Jerry Dunbar from the Hopper division. And we're going to discuss their experience as an Oakley owner-operator and also some things that they can suggest to become a successful owner-operator. But first, of course, I'd like to thank you guys for listening to this podcast and making it popular. You know, with our guys, we're learning that this is a good communication tool with our owner-operators and their families, and we just want you to continue to spread the word. And if somebody hadn't heard it, man, show them how to listen to it. And we email it out. There's a new episode every Wednesday that comes out, and we email it to a bunch of people so they can listen to it. And, of course, it's on social media, too. If you got feedback, let us know what it is. It's something you want to hear about, you want us to talk about, subjects you like, things you'd like to know about. I'll be glad to try to work that in as a full episode or just answer some questions. So email me some questions you have, either through Facebook or email directly to me, and we'll definitely try to get out here and let you understand, help you understand what we're trying to do here. So we appreciate everybody, all our owner-operators and their families. Before we get started, let's hear from Vickie Chastain with this week's Need to Know segment.
As an owner-operator with Oakley Trucking, paperwork is a huge part of your daily routine. One important piece of paperwork is your monthly maintenance report, and that is this week's Need to Know segment. Monthly maintenance reports are due at the first of every month and can be sent in with your TransFlow app using a valid pay number. It needs to be filled out correctly by having your truck number, odometer reading, brakes, and description of any repairs done, as well as copies of your receipts. Do your part to get these turned in so your dispatcher can concentrate on keeping you rolling and not have to shut you down until this is complete. I'm Vickie Chastain, and that's this week's Need to Know segment.
Okay, let's get right back to it and finish our conversation with three of our Oakley owner-operators sitting here with us, Robert and Jerry and Freddie, and from each division, an End-Dump, a Hopper, and a Pneumatic. And we basically just visiting and talking about a few things to give you guys, our listeners, just the insight of what's going on here. I mean, I think y'all probably know, but it's pretty good information on each division and how everybody operates, and also guys coming in be real good for recruits coming in to listen to some of this stuff. So what about you made me think they're talking about trading trucks and stuff. One of the things we tackle, and it's a challenge, and old Randolph spends all day out here loading the new guys to train them, is loading the trailer and getting the weight right on these trailers. Is there a technique to that, or a challenge, or what's the story on getting the weights right?
Well, in the end dumps, I tell you, and thanks to Oakley for that, like they have the spread axles.
Yes.
Now the spread axles, it allows you to load totally different, and that way you can fluctuate your weight a lot easier. Even though all of the trailers are not spread axle, but as for distributing the weight with the spread axle, once you get one, you never want to go back.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about doing that axling out so much.
Exactly, because that way you can play more with the weights.
What about a guy that's got a tandem axle trailer, though, Robert, on a dump?
Well, I mean, like you just got to watch your gauges. You have to tell those guys that's loading, the loaders who loading the truck, you got to be there at your gauges watching to make sure that they do it correctly, because if not, just might have to sit out there with a shovel and do a little bit of work. Right. But if you're watching your gauges and you tell them how to load it, which they're going to load it the way that you want them to load it,
That's
You
right.
tell them to load it. So
That's right.
Yeah.
as long as you do that, you should be good. But with the spread axle, makes it a lot easier.
Pull up there and load the wagon.
Load
You
the
just
wagon.
worry about the gross. you know.
Exactly.
When I came here, I had some friends here. And the best thing you can have if you come to work here is phone numbers from people that know.
Mhm.
Because most people, and people's got my numbers, will call me and say, you don't know me, but so-and-so told me to call you. And this is what I said, where are you at? And after you've loaded a few times, and I've got sheet notes from back years ago on different trailers, because at one time there were different trailers here of what you could put in every hole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of a feel.
Mhm.
And you know some of the customers that are right on the money. You don't have to. If you tell him, it's there. And there are some, they're guessing too, but you have to guess with him on them gauges.
Mhm.
And it's not, I tell anybody, I said, tell him to shut it off and let's look at it first. And it's not a sin to overload because 99% of the places will let you blow it off or drop it.
Right.
But it's a feel. And
Yeah, that seems to be a challenge with a lot of our guys. What about a hopper, Jerry?
Well, the important part on the hopper is you're going to depend on the weight of your truck,
Mm-hmm.
And with the hopper, we get bonuses for the more weight that you can haul. And so for every 1,000 pounds more is 5 cents a mile more on the loaded miles.
Right.
Well, I got mine after I got off end up. I took off my wet kit and all that. And I can haul 51,550 pounds legal full of fuel. So I just got to a place where I know what to load in the front. I know what to load in the back. And if on the hoppers, if you load the front first, then your gauges are more accurate than when you go to the back and the trailer gauge catches up with it.
Okay.
And our new trailers with the gauges on the front of the trailer, you're standing there looking at your truck gauge and the trailer gauge without walking around, and you can get it, really right. But like he was saying, the important thing is don't leave until it's right. Even if you have to go back around and get a little bit more, or if you have to dump some off before you leave, because those overweight tickets are not.
I find it easy. I pulled come from a reefer and a flatbed. They were not going to break a bundle and they wasn't going to bust a pallet.
Right.
So you either had to take it. And here, I mean, I can tell him, give me just a little sprinkle.
Yeah.
And I can get a couple hundred more pounds.
Right.
Or ease up on it. And most of them are pretty reasonable. They'll give you a little bit more, or,
Yeah.
And I find it easier to load this than I did a reefer.
Yeah.
Because a reefer, if they said 82,000, and we're not going to break none down. Here, you're not going to leave illegal.
Right.
Right.
They're not going to let you leave, and you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So
But
I
I
find it
understand-
easier.
And I understand that too, as far as, with Oakley, you guys want us to load to the max. And I understand that because that's really good because the customer are paying for that product. So you want to get as close to legal, and not legal, but as close to that max as you possibly can. And and not only does that help the customer, it help us because as long as you're doing that, the customer is going to continue to call Oakley to bring in their products.
That's
because
the point
you're
I
not
was
sure.
going to make too, Robert, was exactly that, to where you see the big picture. So I know it's tough when you go into some of these facilities because they're not very receptive to you going back and getting more, or can I get a little bit more? No, you're loaded. Get out of my way.
Right.
Next guy behind me. That's the challenge that you guys have, and we're sitting in here going, man, we really need to get some more weight on it.
Right.
And but to see the big picture and how important that is, it makes a difference because there's a happy medium that we have to have here at Oakley with you guys and the trucks you want and you want to live in for a week or a month,
Mm-hmm.
and the weight that we can haul,
Mhm.
because we're fighting the competition
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that typically will have a lot lighter equipment than we have, or there'll be company trucks and trailers and they can haul more weight than we can.
Mm-hmm.
So we're fighting that a little bit to where, we're giving these freight rates based on what you can haul.
Mhm.
So we're trying to get as much as we can on there and still be legal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a challenge with a dispatcher too, to, try to get you guys to get as much as we can on it. It makes a difference in the end,
Mhm.
especially at the end of the week. I can tell you it makes a difference because That's one of the things we'll say. If we've got somebody hung out somewhere on a Friday, and y'all might have been there once time before, and dispatcher says, I don't know what I'm going to do right now. We're going to have to figure something out. Well, I promise you, the next thing out of his mouth is, how much money we got on this guy? How much money have we made on this trailer this week? Because in our mind, we're going, how far can we deadhead to the next load?
Really?
And not going the hole.
Right.
Well, then it makes a difference on how much weight Robert Tennie has got on, or Jerry Dunbar or Freddie Baker. How much weight has he hauled on every load this week? And did he short us 500 pounds? Could he gotten that other 500 pounds on there every load? And then at the end of the week, if we're sitting there at the end of the week and we've got no money, well, you're limited on what we can do.
Right.
We just can't do a whole lot. So it makes a difference now. It really does.
There's one other thing that I think Oakley is so fair about. There's some of the things that we haul that what we call cube out. There's not the weight there, rice hulls and stuff like that. So what we do is on the bill of lading is and they know because of the product, but I write on the bill of lading maximum cubed out. So when the accounting or whoever does our paperwork sees that, and what they do then, if we're cubed out, I may only have 30,000 pounds on the trailer, but we're cubed out, or 40,000. Then they pay me for the full, like I was completely loaded, because that's the kind of load it is.
Well, and that's probably, you're saying it's a flat rate.
Right.
It's not
Right.
There are some of that's done like that
Right.
for sure. That's not by the ton every time,
Right.
but the majority of it is.
Or the same aspect is if we go into a customer and I am the one that gets the last load out of the bin, and they only had 45,000 pounds and they were out of product, then I'll write that on there. And so then they can, I guess, call the customer and verify that.
So I've been getting a lot of calls lately on guys trading trucks. Of course, they're trading every week. We got people trading trucks, but they're all concerned about the weight. And I tell them, I said, look, we just got to be careful. These trucks are getting heavier all the time, and it's making it a challenge for us. And right now it's emphasized a little more because freight rates are low. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the way it is right now. And that goes back to us paying mileage pay. Well, we're going to still pay you guys and still get the miles, and you're still going to make the money. We just got to emphasize we need to be watching that weight and watch the tractor weight, not get them too heavy. Everybody asks me, well, what's too heavy? Well, I don't want to just say a number, because everybody goes, well, this tractor weighs 18.5 dry weight. I'm like, well, that don't tell us a whole lot. It depends on what we put on it, a blower or a wet kit or a APU or all your stuff in it or fuel. And we just have to add all that stuff up. So I'll just do it case by case, because I want our owner operators to get a comfortable, good looking truck that they got to stay in all week or a month or however long they do.
Right.
But still, our owner operators be conscious about the weight. That's really what we're asking, is to be, just conscious about the weight and do the best. And most of them are very good about it, for sure. So one other question, what do you guys think, what could we do, Oakley do, to help you be more successful? Or what would you do if you were running Oakley? What's some of the first things you would change? Negative, good, bad? I need to hear it.
Or as for me, I'm totally satisfied. I don't even know.
Wait a minute, let me turn this paper. I need to write this down. Freddie's over here with a long list.
I really don't know what else can you actually do to make it any better, because you do your job, the dispatcher do their job, and you just go out there and do the work.
And you're not stressed about it all.
You're not stressed at all. You call in the dispatcher, you tell them you're empty, and put your information in. He give you your next load. You do your job, and you just over and over and over.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, everything is good for me.
That's good. That's good to hear.
I like to prevent problems, and part of on my end of it is communicating well with Seth, my dispatcher, ahead of time, when I need to be home, when how long I can run, whatever, any maintenance issues, any trailer issues. And that saves a lot of downtime and all that kind of stuff. The only thing I can think of, and I've talked about this before, is more accurate information on the dispatching, sometimes of directions or not a P.O. box number. You can't drive to the P.O. box.
I'm going to elaborate on what you're talking about.
Oh boy, here we go, Jeremy. We got a hot one.
I'm just going to give him Freddie's number.
Freddie can tell you how to
99% of the places we load at or unload at, we have been to 400 times.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been to most of them, so I don't need directions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But these new hands and some that haven't been to all of them, and a lot of them in places you don't want to go to unless you know for sure there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
And also I ask the question all the time, how late will they unload?
Right.
And I don't know. And there's nobody that can I don't want to call the customer. I came from a background, truck driver don't call no customer. But I know their dispatch is busy, and of course it turns to 5 o'clock and they're gone. And I don't know. I pull up in there at 7 o'clock, they're closed. And a lot of these places are in the country on a back road and everything. You should have gone around that 4-ton bridge, and there's a 11.6 underpass you're trying. And those directions could be there. And on our new dispatch, all the Qualcomm, there are places for that.
Not in there.
There ain't 10% of them.
Yeah.
Of none of that information.
Does it have the phone numbers or the?
Sometimes
It'll have the phone number,
Yeah.
but most of the time that will be some lady
it's
that's
like,
in the office way up in New York,
Right.
and
It's a
you gonna get it.
corporate phone.
You're not gonna get that plant.
sometimes
that's
the
true.
information that's in the Qualcomm will be what they got from their contact and billing. It's not from
Not
the
from
plant.
that plant. That's right.
It's not from that.
So it's a
place
wrong address altogether.
Yeah.
Right. It's a PO box.
Yeah, or
And
PO
then
box.
and then so you got to fish around and try to figure it out, or call your dispatcher. and try-
Right.
Well, it's good to have numbers, because usually I can call 5 or 6 other pneumatics. I said, have you ever been there? Have you ever been there? But if you're a new hand and you don't have a bunch of numbers,
Yeah,
you're lost.
yeah.
Now, because of my own deal that I had before, I was used to doing this. I was calling for my drivers to find out all this information, so I didn't want a truck in a mess somewhere. So I still, after I get loaded, before I go to the receiver, unless I've been there a bunch of times, I go ahead and call them. Say, hey, now this is customer service. I call them and say, hey, this is Jerry with Oakley Trucking. I got a load of fertilizer. I'll be there in the morning. I just want to verify your hours, how I need to come in there. Is this the correct address? Blah, 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 blah. The customer loves that. Sometimes you'll get, well, I don't know,
But that's customer service.
But the customer service that I'm doing for myself and for Oakley is letting number one, he knows he's got a truck coming in the morning. Number two, I've verified the information and all that. So I have learned, and sometimes I've actually called and got loaded, called and said, oh, we don't have any more loads coming. That contract's up.
Oh man, and you're loaded.
And I'm already loaded.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
I have
then
told,
I call the dispatcher.
Yeah.
I call the dispatcher and say, hey, we got a problem. I've loaded for wherever, and they say they're done with that contract and they don't want the load.
Yeah.
So I may just have to go back, or they may send it to one of their other plants or whatever. But
That's what you got to do, though, is call your dispatcher back and,
Yeah,
and
but
let
you-
him make that
yeah,
decision on what to do.
but you alleviate the problem by confirming the information. But it'd still be helpful to have the right information.
But I have told them I've tried to call and say, these are the directions, and they never got on there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, you've told dispatch,
oh, yes,
and they've never gotten on
they
there.
didn't get on there.
I'm not going to say who the other company is, but one of my previous experiences, kind of like an ex, right,
Yeah.
is they actually had availability in the Qualcomm for a driver to put in information. It wouldn't permanently go in there, but it went to their dispatch. They'd look at it and whatever, and if it was accurate, then they'd put it in their permanent dispatch notes. It was a driver dispatch note. And until then, the company
You're telling the dispatcher that this is the wrong information.
Right.
This is the wrong place, wrong address.
This is the wrong information. And I went there, and this is the correct information now.
Well, and when you show up at the wrong place, or we look like a bunch of idiots that don't know what we're doing. And I'm talking about us, Oakley, the company looks like they don't know what they're doing. I've told dispatch, to get us there, but it's there's more to that than just having the right place. I promise you. I know it seems simple. I'll be able to get the right place, but getting that from the customer is not always easy.
But that's where if a guy gets turned around down a road he shouldn't be on, or residential street, and he gets stopped, or tears up the pavement, or takes down a mailbox, or
those good directions come in handy.
Yeah. That's where you save a lot of safety and issues.
I've heard that before, having better directions in the Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Or the
there's a place for it.
Yeah. And when you punch on it and it's blank, you just snarl your nose or what? You go, what is going on?
Well, it has a thing on the dispatch says directions, and it just doesn't, anything comes up, it just
right.
But as he said, that the directions would help.
So y'all just punch in the address. Is it got an address most of the time?
Yes.
Sometimes
I usually just go to Google and pull an address up because I know the P.O. box is not it, and I'll pull a search on it and do it like that. And usually there's a phone number. Maybe a lot of times it'll be for security, which that can usually help you a lot more than anybody else.
Okay.
But the time to research that out, you're wasting time sitting there doing that. Yeah. But it's necessary to properly know where you're going and what's going on.
Very much so.
Before you get there late at night, and
whether you can stay there.
There's some bad places you don't want to be.
That's, I always, what time will they receive it to? Well, what difference does it make? Well, if they cut off at 3, I can hold up, and I don't have to pull up to the gate and they say, you can't stay here, driver.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the information you need.
Yeah, for planning.
Yeah.
You need to be able to plan.
Yeah.
That's a safety, a logistics, planning. I mean, it covers all three.
And these electric log books.
Yeah.
Especially
you're trying to conserve all your time on your thing, and when you have to backtrack, well, that's time coming off that 70 hour, you're 14 or you're 11.
Yeah.
If you're within 10 minutes and you thought that you could get there and get unloaded, and you're within 10 minutes and you get there, and then they finally come and tell you, and then you're out of time and you can't leave, well, you got to leave. So,
but I will say, I'm amazingly that the electronic logs have worked smoother here than I ever thought they would.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought bulk. I said this will be the nightmare because so irregular loading, unloading, 7 day a week. I said it will be a nightmare. But amazingly, it's worked better, and I guess the dispatchers took hold to it better than I thought they would.
Yeah, me too. It was definitely a challenge in the beginning. It's been tough getting through it. I think it's hindered them, to where now they see and know how many hours you got left, and and that you can't make it,
right.
To where beforehand we just took your word for it.
All right.
On a paper log, and you could make it. Okay, Freddie's gonna make it. We don't know how.
Well,
we don't know his hours. Now we do.
I have Bradley, and you tell Bradley, and Bradley's looking at everything. I said, Bradley, I can't. I'm out on my 70. I can't make it. And he'll say, sure, looks like it. And he said, what about the next day? I mean, there's no question. We agreed. He agreed everything was that way, but I let him know. You might well let the customer know it ain't gonna be there tomorrow.
Man, that's so much better to know that up front.
Oh yeah. It's not that's the customer, and he's got to be there. That day that's not there anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing with the dispatchers. They don't push you to go beyond what you can do. You call it, tell them what you can do and what you can't do, and they just.
Well, every individual is different here. Some people can, I never run 11 miles I don't know if I could run 660 miles a day anymore.
I'm too lazy.
But there are others that can push that limit out to 11. And, but I'm a 9 3/4 guy usually.
Now those changes are coming down the road here pretty soon. What I hear giving you, I probably shouldn't even brought it up because I don't know the details exactly, but I know it's going to give you some leeway on that when you're sitting at some place and you can't get loaded for a few hours. You get to move that time back. So me and Roger were talking a little bit about that earlier, but that's a whole nother episode. So, good stuff, man. Anything else you guys want to add? I asked you that question, and that was the only answer was customer information on the Qualcomm, something we can improve on. What else you think? Well, I know there's a lot of things, but
I'll just say overall, Oakley's a good company. They really take care of you. And, if there's drivers out there that's looking for a good place to come to work, I would suggest it without a heartbeat.
But be ready to work.
Yep. Be ready to work. And make some money.
Yeah. That's right. What about it, Freddie? Anything else on your end? What else we could do to help you guys other than the customer information being better on Qualcomm?
You probably could tell me this, how many trucks were here 10 years ago?
I could have before we came up here.
Half of what's here now?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, let's just say 400 then. But this company's grown in 10 years, and it's there's some growing pains with it.
Very much so.
And there's some things here that haven't grown with it. And I don't really need night dispatch, and I don't really need anybody 24 hours a day. But I know there have been times when there's emergency stuff, and I just don't know if I have any numbers if something happened to get hold of anybody right now. I got Bradley, but I'm talking about in safety.
Okay.
And I've had a customer call me and wanted some numbers from me. And I said, why are you calling me? He said, because you've been here and I had your phone number. We had a driver that got hurt. And I couldn't believe that we didn't have a lot of those emergency numbers with our customers and everything.
We still got those little cheat sheet phone number cards.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just need to get updated ones because there's people that come and go and all that. But I mean,
we do have
on those cheat sheet cards, it basically has everybody.
Yeah, it's got everybody's.
Yeah, but they've got to answer the phone, and in 10 years' time, all those people that were in dispatch are either not here or have moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that kind of needs.
Yeah, we need to give an update. I mean, we do give everybody that comes through, so they got more information than what you had when you came through 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But we have all that information in a handbook now that we give everybody when they come through that's got the list of what to do if you have an emergency or an accident. And, of course, we give them all the little yellow card that's got everybody's name on it, which, like you say, could be outdated for sure. But we definitely, you start with your dispatcher. That's who we want you to call first because he's got them all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an emergency, whether it's day or night or bad or good or whatever you need to get a hold of somebody at Oakley, you call your dispatcher that you can get a hold of. Then he can go to wherever he needs to, whether it's safety or whatever. He's got all those numbers.
You know what might be a good idea is when they send out the annual calendars, they send out the updated phone list thing every year.
Yeah.
But it's just,
while you're already mailing something out.
Oakley went through growing pains.
Yeah.
It's just like his office. His office was needed years ago. That new driver's lounge was needed years ago. It's just, but we've grown, and it's just the growing pains of it.
It definitely is growing pains, but we have really, that sounds like a lot, but we have grown fairly slow. It's not been a fast growth. We just grow little by little. We'll have spurts because there was, times where we just hung out at like 700 owner operators, and we didn't gain any ground for a year or two, and then you go bam, then you go to gaining some ground in a hurry. That's where you have you growing pains. And that's why now we're real careful of how many we lease on, because we don't want to have those big growing pains. We don't want to slam guys full of trucks that don't need to be right now. So we're just basically keeping up, keeping pace just a few a week just to keep going. So Good stuff, man. All good. I've got those 2 things written down right here. Customer information in the Qualcomm and all phone numbers for all the owner-operators.
Boy, if that's all the problems we got, we're good.
We're rocking, ain't we? There'll be more. I guarantee you we'll get out here and go, yeah, that's one too. But that's all right. No, I appreciate the heck out of you guys coming up here and taking time out of your day and visiting with me. I think our owner-operators and also guys coming in to this company will get a lot out of this. This is some good stuff right here that you guys know. Y'all do it every day. I mean, and that's what people need to hear. The good and the bad. Go ahead.
The one thing that you want to call it fortunate or unfortunate. I've also had a couple of things. I had a wreck 3 weeks after, I got hit 3 weeks after I started, and how you guys handled all that with me. Successful, got past it, moved on past it. I got hurt this last April, been off with my shoulder tore up. You guys helped me through all that, got past it. So a lot of companies talk about all the fun, successful times, but you don't get much feedback about when things are not good. Mm-hmm. And when things are tough, you guys are still there every step of the way. Mm-hmm. And that means a lot, not only to me, but my wife, my family, and everything. When I was hurt and stuff, every week or two, you call me. You still alive, Dunbar? Yeah.
Got to check on you.
Yeah.
Well,
but to me, if I was outside looking in, it's like, how do they handle stuff when things don't go so well? And you guys are awesome with that.
And I got to apologize to a lot of guys out there because we don't know everything. Right. About owner-operators that are having issues or off hurt, and a lot of them don't want you to know, and we just don't get that information all the time about everybody, but we try. We sure try and want to make, we want to recognize it, that we're here to help you if you have problems, because it can be tough on all of us. We all got problems. And one thing I do want to say is we got 2 guys that we all need to be thinking about. One is Larry Harris. He has worked here since April of 1996. Wow. Great guy, man. He's just a super guy. He loves trucks. He loves fixing trucks. He just is super. And he had just this past weekend had his leg amputated. So it's hard for him I talked to him on the phone the other Monday, and him and his wife, and it's hard for them to swallow that, because all he's done is driven a truck and fixed trucks, and he loves to be in a truck. And he was just having some circulation problems, and they were trying to get it fixed, and then went into this hospital, and they didn't have no choice but to take his leg off, knee down, and now he's in rehab. I think he got in there yesterday. So Charlotte and Larry Harris, we're sure thinking about y'all. So y'all remember them. They're great people, and we think we got it rough sometimes, and bad weeks and bad days. And then we got an owner operator, Mike Johnson. He's out of Iowa, and just super. He pulls a dump. I don't know his handle, Robert. You probably run into him, but super guy. His son is in his 40s, and he just died with brain cancer. Wow. So I'm telling you, boys, it's you never know. We think it's bad; it can get bad. Now it's just something that you don't think about. And I just want to recognize Larry Harris and Mike Johnson and his family, what all they're going through right now, and they got a good attitude about it too. So that's a good thing about it. And they got good family around them. So that's all good. Anything else before we go, guys? Y'all good? I appreciate it.
I'm good.
I appreciate y'all coming in and doing this, man. Maybe we can do this a little more often.
Yeah, that's good.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. Y'all remember every Wednesday we got a new episode comes out. So be sure and tune in and share it with your friends, this and your families, and let everybody know about Oakley Trucking and what we're doing with this podcast. And we appreciate all you owner operators out there and what you do for us. Talk to you next week. Have a good week. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate or review the show in the podcast platform of your choice and share it with a friend. We love hearing from our audience, so if you've got a question, comment, or just want to say hello, head over to our website, theoakleypodcast.com, and click the Leave a Comment button. We'll get you a response soon and may even share some of the best ones here on the show. We'll be back with a fresh episode very soon. Thanks for listening.